What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, April 21st, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 23:23 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Israel and from the Middle East and also from here in the US. So right now, tonight, we have U.S. nuclear forces on very high alert for some reason. We've had over 34 emergency action messages today, which is extremely concerning considering it's the day after Easter. And typically they don't broadcast a lot of messages around holidays unless something serious is going on. And if you don't know what an emergency action message is, that's a nuclear code. They're basically targeting information for our nuclear forces. So over 34 of these nuclear codes transmitted today. And in addition to all those codes, we have some strategic aircraft up in the air tonight. What you're looking at here is the flight path of a U.S. combat Sentinel plane. This plane is a high-priority reconnaissance plane that sends intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance information directly to the U.S. President and the top generals in the U.S., and you can see it took off from Okinawa, Japan, and went straight up to South Korea, wasting no time at all, going straight to the DMZ, and it's now patrolling the DMZ, the border of North and South Korea. This is extremely unusual, okay? I have not seen this in a very, very long time. Typically, these combat scents will fly out into the Sea of Japan when North Korea does some kind of a missile test, but this one is flying along the border with North Korea, so something must be going on here along the DMZ. North Korea must be massing forces along the border of South Korea. Okay, keep in mind this is a high priority reconnaissance plane that sends intelligence information directly to Trump and Hegseth and all the top generals. Now, in addition to that, right now, we also have a B52 Nuclear Bomber airborne over Texas, which is extremely unusual for this late at night. It took off from Barksdale Air Force Base a couple of hours ago, and it went all the way to New Mexico, and it's now flying back. We also have a strategic reconnaissance plane that took off from Offutt Air Base, and then it went down to Oklahoma, and it did this north to south pattern here, looking towards the east and west coast, because these planes have side-looking radars. Now, in addition to this, earlier this evening, we had another B-52 nuclear bomber airborne over Arkansas and Louisiana. We had a Cobra Ball, which is a special plane used to detect and track missiles, and it was looping over North Dakota. We had a B-1 strategic bomber flying over North Dakota. We had two reconnaissance planes, RC-135s, flying over Nebraska and South Dakota, looking to the east and west and the north and the south. And we also had a combat Sentinel, a high-priority recon plane, flying through the Midwest. So something is brewing, guys, with all these EAMs as well. All right? And last night, we had two E-3 Sentry AWACS planes fly from Oklahoma to the Rota Air Base in Spain. Now, the reason why this is significant is because the Rota Air Base is one of the U.S. bomber bases overseas. Okay, so you have Rota in Europe, you have Mildenhall in the UK, you have Diego Garcia, which everybody knows of now. There's Ascension Island. There's a couple of other ones. There's some in Poland and other countries. Up in Sweden, they have one near Luleå. And in Poland, they have Powice Air Base. But Rota is one of the premier U.S. bomber bases in Spain, okay? And they moved 2 E-3 Sentry AWACS planes to Spain, to Rota Air Base. So this could be either for the Houthis or more likely for Iran. And we're hearing now that Israel is continuing their preparations to strike Iran. The Israeli Air Force trained today for the possibility that the Israeli military bases could once again be attacked by Iranian ballistic missiles. So the Israelis were checking their air defenses and doing different drills today. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video. And the Iranian foreign minister said on Saturday night that the Obama nuclear deal, the JCPOA, is not enough for his country anymore. Okay, so Iran is saying that even the Obama deal is not good enough for them. Okay, they want something that's going to benefit them even more than the Obama deal. Okay, so this is very bad. They're basically dictating to us the terms of this deal, which is not good. And the U.S. Central Command General Michael Kurilla will visit Israel in the coming days to ensure U.S. and Israel are aligned on Iran. Kurilla is known as a strong supporter of attacking Iran's nuclear program. So this is very, very serious. The CENTCOM General Michael Kurilla will be in Israel in the coming days to probably plan out the strike. Okay, so I still think the strike is going to happen, but I think maybe Israel is going to lead it, and we're just going to support Israel on it. That's what I think, but we'll have to wait and see. And we're hearing that the Israeli Air Force has intensified their preparations for a strike on Iran. And the Egyptian military announced the opening of the joint Chinese-Egyptian exercise Eagles of Civilization 2025. For the drill, China brought to Egypt the J-10 fighter jets, which are almost a fifth-generation fighter jet. So that's one of China's best fighter jets, are now in Egypt doing training with the Egyptians. Okay, China and Egypt are doing exercises together. And guys, this comes straight out of the Bible, okay? The Bible talks about the kings of the East coming into the Middle East and potentially attacking Israel with Magog and Gog, okay? And Magog is most likely Russia. So this is very, very concerning. China training with Egypt on Israel's doorstep, okay, with advanced fighter jets. And speaking of Israel, we have this new video that was released by some Israeli activist group showing the third temple being built. It was generated by AI. So here you can see the Dome of the Rock. And then as I play this video, you'll see that the third temple is built on top of the Dome of the Rock. Okay, so there is a big push now for the third temple to be built. Okay, so when this third temple gets built, we know that we're very close to the tribulation period. Okay, so here you can see the third temple. Okay, and this was generated by AI. So, guys, we're living in some very, very interesting and strange times, also dangerous times. And NPR is reporting that the White House has begun the process of searching for a new Secretary of Defense following several weeks of controversies involving the current Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and his Pentagon. And the White House responded that that was fake news, the NPR report, and that they're not considering replacing Pete Hegseth. And in case you guys missed the big news over the weekend, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is said to have shared detailed information about forthcoming strikes in Yemen on March 15th for the second time in a private Signal group chat that included his wife, brother, and personal lawyer. Okay, so another Signal situation with Hegseth. And multiple sources are reporting that the Secretary of Defense had a second parallel Signal chat with his family members about U.S. military operations in Yemen. The Pentagon spokesman denied the report and called it a hit piece by Trump-hating media using fired employees' grievances, and claimed that no classified information was shared. So you can read the whole thing in the New York Times. Basically, it was exposed by a fired employee who worked on Hegseth's team, very close to Hegseth, and he was the one who exposed it all. And fired Pentagon advisor Dan Caldwell claims he was purged over his foreign policy views and for threatening established interests, disputing the official leak probe reason, according to Politico. So Dan Caldwell was apparently very anti-war, especially when it came to Iran, and that most of Hegseth's team were war hawks. So they got rid of Caldwell because he was anti-war. And I believe Tucker Carlson just did an interview with him, so you can probably go and check that out. And this is what Caldwell told Politico. He said, "I think there clearly is a very strong coalition within the United States that wants to see another war in the Middle East," Caldwell said, "and it crosses both parties." Okay, so he's saying that Republicans and Democrats. And so he said that he was basically let go because he was against that. And China launched more major military drills near Taiwan, calling them a warning against separatism and U.S. support for the island's independence. And China's foreign ministry dismissed Ukrainian President Zelensky's claim that Beijing is supplying weapons to Russia as groundless on Friday. China reiterated its stance of neutrality in the war and denied providing lethal weapons to any party. Interesting, because remember they captured those Chinese troops in eastern Ukraine. Okay, why is the media not talking about this? Chinese troops are now in eastern Ukraine, and France and Britain have already started sending troops into Ukraine, into strategic locations. So you see how this is building up to World War III. And China has just issued a major warning to the world that it will retaliate against countries that cooperate with the U.S. on tariffs in ways that compromise Beijing's interests. China firmly opposes any party reaching a deal at the expense of China's interests. If this happens, China will not accept it and will resolutely take reciprocal countermeasures, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce said. Interesting. And the U.S. has deployed naval strike missiles to the highly strategic Luzon Strait in the Philippines, which is considered to be unprecedented. The naval strike missiles will be able to engage any surface vessel transiting the channel between Taiwan and the Philippines. So what you're looking at here is one of these naval strike missiles known as Nemesis. These are a U.S. Marine Corps system, and they're mounted on one of the Joint Light Tactical Vehicles. Okay, you can see the two missile tubes over here. And here's a picture of them launching this massive anti-ship missile. Very, very powerful system and a mobile system. So this is very interesting, and it appears to not even be controlled by a person. You can see there's no steering wheel here. There's no seat anywhere. So this looks to be like a drone essentially, and or self-driving or remotely driven. Okay, because you see there's no steering wheel. There's no seats anywhere. Okay, so this thing is just like a drone essentially. So very interesting. And the U.S. Air Force has deployed B-1 bombers to Misawa Air Base in northern Honshu, Japan for bomber training operations in the Indo-Pacific region. This is the first deployment of its kind in Japan since the Vietnam War. The fleet includes airmen and support equipment from the U.S. Air Force's 9th Expeditionary Bomb Squadron at Dyess Air Force Base in Texas. It will focus on familiarizing crew members with various air bases and different areas of operations. Okay, so the U.S. moving at least 4 B-1s to Japan. That is not just for training, guys. That is for deterrence, okay, to manage any kind of an escalation situation. And we have a combat Sentinel up in the air right now, like I showed you in the beginning of the video, okay, over South Korea. So the situation in Asia is now really escalating. And the Times of the UK is reporting that the UK will dramatically increase its ability to produce munitions, so it no longer needs to rely on the US for ammunition. And there is currently no possibility that Poland will reopen its border crossings with Belarus, according to the Polish Interior Minister Tomasz Siemoniak. And he said this on April the 19th. Siemoniak noted that Poland would like to open the border with Belarus, but said that the border will remain closed as long as Belarus threatens Poland's border security. So very, very interesting. So Poland's entire border is closed to Belarus. And there's new satellite images that came out of Russia, out of the Belaya Air Base, which is a bomber base, one of Russia's 4 nuclear bomber bases. It's Belaya, Ukrainka, Olenya, and Engels. And apparently the latest satellite images taken yesterday show as many as 7 Tu-95s, 6 Tu-160s, and 24 MiG-31s, and 39 Tu-22 backfire bombers. Okay, so that's a lot of bombers. Okay, and the MiG-31s are used to deploy hypersonic ballistic missiles or air-launched ballistic missiles. So it looks like Russia's gearing up for some massive strikes on Ukraine in the coming weeks. We're seeing them positioning a lot of bombers close to Ukraine. They've been moving a lot of bombers from Olenya to Engels, which is within striking distance of Ukraine. Now we have a whole bunch of bombers piling up in Belaya. So we'll keep an eye on this. And as many as 6 Russian missile ships have been deployed to the Black Sea. Okay, so something is brewing, guys. Russia's moving all these bombers around, and then there's also these warships in the Black Sea that have missiles on them. So they're preparing for a massive strike, which could come, I believe, any day now. And between 500 and 600 Houthi fighters have been killed by U.S. strikes since March 15th, when the U.S. kicked off their massive campaign on the Houthis. And at least 38 strikes have targeted multiple Houthi-linked sites in Yemen over the past 24 hours. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will continue to monitor all these events and update you guys accordingly. Make sure you're subscribed. Also, make sure you click the bell notification and select all notifications so you get notified of every time I post these videos. Also, you can download my app for free from the Google Play Store and from the Apple Store, I think it is. There's a link to both Android and Apple in the description below this video where you can download my app. And every time I post a video, I send out a notification through my app. Okay, so you'll never miss an update if you download my app. Also, you can follow me on Telegram and Twitter. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.